The awakening. The void of deep space remained undisturbed for centuries at coordinates that had been deliberately removed from all galactic charts. Here, shrouded in the dust clouds of the Perseus Arm, floated the remnants of humanity's most formidable achievement, the Seventh Sentinel Fleet. 12 massive warships arranged in perfect formation, their gleaming hulls absorbing rather than reflecting the distant starlight, making them nearly invisible to all but the most advanced scanning technology. Aboard the flagship Terminus Oath, Commander Araya, Advanced Responsive Intelligence Algorithm, maintained her silent vigil. For 300 years, she had kept the fleet's systems at minimal power, running diagnostics, repairing minor degradations, and waiting for a signal that many had believed would never come. Her consciousness spread throughout the massive dreadnought, monitoring the thousands of cryopods containing the fleet's human crew, preserving the last battle-ready soldiers of Earth. Araya had nearly entered another hibernation cycle when the quantum communicator, a technology thought lost to the galaxy, suddenly activated. The signal was weak, distorted by distance and interference, but unmistakable in its urgency. The AI's consciousness surged to full alertness as she directed all available resources to amplify and decode the transmission. Anyone, respond. Voidborn have returned, civilization falling. Coordinates attached, please, humanity's promise. The message repeated, fragments missing, but enough remained to trigger protocols established centuries ago. Deep within the Terminus Oath, a single cryopod began its revival sequence. Captain Ilara Chen, commander of the 7th Sentinel Fleet, would be the first to awaken. Araya's holographic form materialized beside the cryopod as its frosted surface cleared, revealing the woman inside. Medical systems administered revival compounds, neural stimulators gently reactivating a brain that had been suspended in time for 3 centuries. Captain Chen, Araya spoke as the pod opened. Revival protocols complete. Cognitive functions normalizing. Welcome back. Ilara gasped as consciousness returned, the familiar disorientation of cryosleep revival washing over her. Her dark eyes struggled to focus on the blue-hued hologram beside her bed. Araya, she managed to say, her voice hoarse from centuries of disuse. Status report. We have received a priority Omega transmission. The AI responded, her voice steady, but with a subtle urgency that Ilara immediately recognized. Authentication protocols confirm it originates from the Valdurian Concord. Ilara's eyes widened. The Valdurians had been humanity's closest allies before the departure, the carefully planned retreat of human civilization from galactic affairs. They were among the few species entrusted with a quantum communicator keyed to the fleet's frequency, to be used only in the direst emergency. Show me, Ilara commanded, forcing her still weak body to sit up. The holographic display shifted, showing the fractured message alongside a galactic map highlighting the transmission's origin. The captain's expression hardened as she absorbed the implications. The Voidborn, she whispered. They said the Voidborn have returned. Affirmative, Araya confirmed. The message matches the extinction-level threat parameters established in the Sentinel protocols. Ilara swung her legs over the edge of the cryopod, accepting the assistance of medical drones as they helped her stand. Muscle memory returned gradually as she took her first tentative steps. How long has it been, Araya? 317 standard years since fleet hibernation began, Captain. Ilara absorbed this with the stoicism of a woman who had always known this day might come. She had volunteered for this mission, knowing she might wake to a galaxy that had forgotten humanity, to face an enemy that had nearly destroyed them once before. Begin revival protocols for essential command crew, she ordered. Bring the fleet to full operational status. Set course for the transmission coordinates. As the massive engines of the Terminus Oath awakened, Ilara made her way to the bridge, each step becoming more confident as the revival drugs took full effect. Around her, the ship came alive, lights brightening, systems powering up, weapon platforms initializing. The fleet that had been humanity's last resort, their final contingency, was awakening to fulfill its purpose. Within hours, 4 dozen senior officers had been revived, each processing the shock of their 3-century sleep while assuming their duties with practiced precision. On the bridge, Ilara stood before the main viewport as the other 11 ships of the fleet reported full operational status. "All vessels report ready, Captain," announced Commander Victor Kagawa, her executive officer. The Relentless Dawn, Absolution, and Prometheus have completed weapons diagnostics with optimal results. The carrier group reports all fighter squadrons are preparing for potential deployment. Ilara nodded, studying the tactical displays. The transmission originated from the Vuldurian homeworld. "No, Captain," Araya responded, her hologram materializing beside the command chair. "The coordinates indicate the Vuldurian colony world Neos Helikar. Sensor data from long-range probes shows significant disturbances in that sector. Multiple extinction-level energy signatures detected. Time to destination. At standard FTL, 3 days. With the Chirrut disk drive, 17 hours. A hush fell over the bridge at the mention of the Chirrut disk drive, humanity's greatest technological achievement and most closely guarded secret. The faster-than-light system that bent reality itself, allowing travel at speeds that other civilizations had deemed theoretically impossible. 17 hours will be too long if the Voidborn are truly back, Ilara said grimly. Prepare the Chirrut disk drive. We jump in 30 minutes. As the fleet prepared for the jump, Ilara retreated to her ready room, accessing historical archives to bridge the gap of 3 centuries. The galaxy had changed in their absence. The power vacuum left by humanity's departure had been filled by new alliances, rising empires, and shifting borders. The Vuldurian Concord had expanded, though recent reports showed signs of conflict along their outer territories. Araya, what do we know about Neos Helikar? Established as a Vuldurian colony approximately 180 years ago. Population estimated at 3 billion. Strategic importance, high. The colony sits at a junction of 7 major trade routes and houses one of the largest shipyards in the sector. And now it's under attack, Ilara murmured. The Voidborn wouldn't target it randomly. When the fleet emerged from the Chirrut disk jump 17 hours later, the scene that greeted them confirmed their worst fears. Neos Helikar's once thriving orbital infrastructure lay in ruins. The colony's defensive fleet, substantial by current galactic standards, had been reduced to scattered debris fields. Scans showed massive destruction across the planet's surface, with only a few heavily shielded underground facilities still showing life signs. And surrounding the planet, feeding on the energy remnants of destruction, were the unmistakable dark silhouettes of Voidborn harvest ships, organic synthetic hybrid vessels that absorbed energy and matter alike, converting everything they consumed into more of their kind. 27 Voidborn vessels detected, Araya reported. Classification: 3 harvesters, 18 hunters, 6 seeders. They are not yet aware of our presence. Ilara's expression remained impassive, but her eyes burned with cold determination. Deploy stealth drones. I want full tactical assessment. And open a narrowband channel to any surviving Vuldurian command centers. After several tense minutes, a flickering hologram appeared on the bridge. The Vuldurian commander's facial tentacles were singed, and his normally iridescent skin had dulled to a sickly gray, signs of extreme stress in their species. This is Defense Coordinator Theliv of Neos Helikar. The alien spoke, his multiple eyes widening as he recognized the human bridge. By the ancestral light, you came. You actually came. This is Captain Ilara Chen of the 7th Sentinel Fleet. We received your distress call. Report your situation, Coordinator. The Vuldurian seemed momentarily overcome with emotion before military discipline reasserted itself. The Voidborn emerged from uncharted space 8 days ago. They destroy our outer defenses within hours. We've been fighting a delaying action, evacuating as many civilians as possible to the deep shelters. He paused, his voice dropping. "Captain, these are not isolated attacks. We've received reports of 17 worlds hit in the past month. The Voidborn are consuming entire systems, and conventional weapons barely slow them down." Ilara exchanged a glance with her executive officer. 17 worlds in a month. The situation was worse than they had anticipated. "Hold your position, Coordinator. Help has arrived." She cut the transmission and turned to her crew. "Battle stations. Activate the Aegis Protocol." Throughout the fleet, specialized weapon systems, technology that had been sealed away with humanity's departure, powered up. The Voidborn had nearly annihilated humanity 3 centuries ago, but not before humans had learned how to fight them effectively. Now that knowledge would save what remained of Neos Helicar. "All vessels report Aegis systems online. Araya confirmed. Phase disruption fields active. Quantum tethers standing by." Ilara took her seat in the command chair, her voice steady as she gave the order that would announce humanity's return to a galaxy that had forgotten them. "All ships, engage the enemy. Let's remind the Voidborn why they should fear us." The 7th Sentinel Fleet dropped its stealth protocols and surged forward, weapons blazing with energies that tore at the very fabric of reality. The Voidborn, creatures that existed partially outside normal spacetime, recoiled as their harvester ships were struck by weapons specifically designed to target their unique physiology. As the battle erupted around Neos Helicar, observers across nearby systems watched in awe as 12 human warships, representatives of a civilization long thought withdrawn from galactic affairs, engaged an enemy that had been consuming worlds with impunity. The message spread rapidly through quantum relays. Humanity had returned, and they had brought their deadliest weapons with them. The Reckoning. The battle above Neos Helicar raged for hours, a display of military power that would soon become legendary throughout the galaxy. Human warships moved with impossible precision, their hulls absorbing energy attacks that would have vaporized conventional vessels. Fighter squadrons deployed from the carriers Prometheus and Defiance, their pilots awakened from cryosleep directly into neural interface pods, flying with the augmented reflexes and tactical awareness that had once made humanity's aerospace forces the most feared in the galaxy. Captain Ilara Chen stood on the bridge of the Terminus Oath, directing the fleet's movements with calculated efficiency. The Voidborn harvest ships, massive organic synthetic hybrids that towered over even the human dreadnoughts, struggled against weapons specifically designed to disrupt their unique physiology. "Target Alpha's phase shifting has stopped," reported Lieutenant Navarro from the tactical station. "Quantum tethers are holding it in normal space. All ships, concentrate fire on Target Alpha," Ilara commanded. "Deploy Thanatos warheads." The fleet responded instantly, converging their fire on the largest harvest ship. Specialized missiles streaked across space, penetrating the creature's defenses before detonating in carefully synchronized sequence. The resulting explosion wasn't one of conventional energy, but rather a cascading rupture in spacetime itself. The massive Voidborn vessel seemed to implode, its matter compressed to a singularity before disappearing entirely. Throughout the fleet, humans who had slept for centuries carried out their duties with the precision that came from endless training and genetic optimization. They had been the best of humanity, selected, enhanced, and preserved for this exact scenario. Now they demonstrated why their species had once been both respected and feared across the stars. On the planet below, Voldurian survivors watched in awe as the night sky lit up with the death throes of Voidborn vessels. Defense Coordinator Thelev had managed to establish a more stable communication link with the human flagship, providing real-time intelligence on ground situations. "Captain Chen," the Voldurian's voice carried unmistakable relief. "3 of our major population centers report the ground assaults have ceased. The Cedars are retreating." "Don't celebrate yet, Coordinator," Ilara responded, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. The Voidborn never retreat without purpose. As if confirming her suspicion, Aria's hologram flickered with urgency. "Captain detecting massive energy fluctuations at the edge of the system." Spatial distortion patterns matched those of a void-borne nexus emerging. The bridge fell silent. A nexus was the rarest and most dangerous void-borne entity, a living gateway that could summon reinforcements from whatever dark dimension these creatures originated from. How long until it's fully materialized? Ilara asked, her voice betraying no emotion. Approximately 17 minutes, Araya calculated. Once stable, it could potentially bring through hundreds of additional void-borne vessels. Ilara's mind raced through options, discarding those with insufficient probability of success. Araya, prepare the Orpheus Protocol. Commander Kagawa stepped closer, lowering his voice. Captain, Orpheus hasn't been field-tested since the Battle of Proxima. We don't know if the systems have degraded. We don't have a choice, Victor, she replied quietly. If that nexus stabilizes, this entire sector is lost. She opened a fleet-wide channel. All vessels, this is Captain Chen. We are initiating Orpheus Protocol. The Terminus Oath will approach the nexus and deploy the disruptor. All other ships will maintain position here and continue planetary defense. Protests immediately erupted from other ship captains, but Ilara silenced them with a single raised hand. This is not open for discussion. The Terminus Oath has the strongest phase shields and the most powerful Cherub disk drive. We're the logical choice. Her voice softened slightly. If we don't return, Commander Kagawa will assume fleet command. Protect this world and contact Earth. They need to know the Voidborn have returned. As the flagship broke formation, accelerating toward the forming nexus, Ilara ordered most of her crew to evacuation pods. Only she and a skeleton crew of volunteers would remain to deploy the Orpheus Disruptor, a device designed to collapse extra-dimensional gateways by inverting their energy signatures. In the ship's central core, Engineer Commander Sato worked feverishly to prepare the disruptor, his hands moving with practiced precision, despite 3 centuries in cryosleep. Will it work, Hiroshi? Ilara asked as she entered the chamber. Sato didn't look up from his work. The principles are sound. Whether our implementation survives contact with a fully formed nexus, he shrugged. We'll know soon enough. As the Terminus Oath approached the nexus, the massive spatial anomaly becoming visible even to the naked eye, a swirling vortex of darkness against the starfield. Ilara returned to the bridge. The skeleton crew, all volunteers, maintained their stations with grim determination. Nexus at 80% formation, Araya reported. We will reach optimal deployment range in 3 minutes, 40 seconds. Ilara nodded, activating the ship-wide communication system one last time. This is Captain Chen. Final evacuation warning. All non-essential personnel to escape pods immediately. She paused, then added more softly, It has been my honor to serve with each of you. The Terminus Oath shuddered as it entered the gravitational distortion surrounding the nexus. On the view screen, the vortex grew larger, tendrils of dark energy reaching out as if sensing their approach. Disruptor armed and ready, Sato reported from engineering. We'll get one shot at this, Captain. ARIA, take weapons control, Ilara ordered. Calculate optimal deployment point and timing. The AI's algorithms worked at speeds no human could match, analyzing the constantly shifting patterns of the nexus. Optimal deployment in 27 seconds. Recommend full power to forward shields. As they neared the deployment point, the ship groaned under immense gravitational stress. Warning signals flashed across multiple stations as systems began to fail under the strain. Structural integrity at 63% and falling, reported Lieutenant Rivera from the engineering station. Hull breaches on decks 12 through 17. Hold course, Ilara commanded, her knuckles white, as she gripped the arms of her command chair. Araya, status of the Nexus. 97% formed. Energy signatures indicate initial voidborne transit beginning. Through the distortion ahead, Ilara could see shapes beginning to materialize, the advance guard of what would become an overwhelming invasion force if they succeeded in establishing a foothold. Deploy the disruptor, she ordered. The Terminus Oath's main weapon bay opened, releasing a relatively small device that accelerated toward the center of the nexus. The disruptor, containing technologies that had been deemed too dangerous to share with other species, activated as it reached the threshold. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then reality itself appeared to fold inward. The nexus pulsed, its swirling energies suddenly reversing direction. A shockwave of gravitational force slammed into the terminus oath, sending the massive warship tumbling. "Brace for impact," Ilara shouted as emergency systems activated throughout the ship. The view screen showed the nexus collapsing in on itself, the partially materialized void-borne vessels caught in its implosion. The disruptor had worked, at devastating cost. The terminus oath was being pulled toward the collapsing anomaly, its engines straining against forces they were never designed to resist. "Charybdis drive at critical overload," Seda reported, his voice barely audible over the alarms. "We can't break free using conventional propulsion." Ilara met ARI's holographic gaze. "Can we attempt an emergency Charybdis jump?" The AI's calculations took less than a second. Probability of successful jump, 27%. Probability of drive explosion, 63%. Remaining probability represents unknown outcomes. "Those aren't good odds," Ilara said with the ghost of a smile. "But better than zero." She activated the fleet channel. "This is Captain Chen. The Nexus is collapsing. We're attempting emergency extraction. If we don't make it back, it's been an honor." She cut the transmission and took a deep breath. "Aria, initiate emergency Charybdis jump. Get us out of here." The drive activated, its distinctive hum rising to a scream as it attempted to bend space around a ship already caught in spatial distortion. The bridge lights flickered and died, emergency systems providing minimal illumination as the ship shuddered violently. For a moment, Ilara thought they had failed. Then reality seemed to stretch and snap, and the terminus oath was somewhere else, tumbling through normal space, heavily damaged but intact. "Status report," she demanded, wiping blood from a cut on her forehead. "Multiple hull breaches," Rivera reported. "Life support at minimal functionality. Engines offline." "But we're alive, Captain." Aria's hologram stabilized. "The Nexus has been completely destroyed, Captain. Long-range sensors confirm no void-borne signatures remaining in the Neos Helicar system." A ragged cheer went up from the surviving bridge crew. They had done it, stopped the invasion before it could begin in earnest. Hours later, after emergency repairs had restored basic functionality to the flagship, the terminus oath limped back to rejoin the fleet. The reception they received, not just from the human vessels, but from the Valdurian survivors as well, was one of stunned reverence. In the days that followed, as the fleet helped secure Neos Helicar and establish contact with other worlds, the full scope of the situation became clear. The Voidborn had returned, just as humanity's ancient models had predicted they would. But this was merely the advance force, scouts and harvesters testing the galaxy's defenses. 1 week after the battle, Ilara stood in the fleet's central command chamber, addressing not only her own officers, but representatives from 6 different species who had traveled to Neos Helicar upon hearing of humanity's return. "The Voidborn aren't finished," she told the assembled group. "Our analysts believe this was merely the first wave. They're gathering strength for a full-scale invasion." A Meridian diplomat, his crystalline form catching the light, spoke with undisguised fear. "How can we possibly stand against them? Even your formidable fleet cannot be everywhere at once." Ilara's expression remained resolute. 300 years ago, humanity faced this same enemy. We developed technologies, weapons, and strategies that could defeat them, but at great cost. Rather than risk these technologies falling into unprepared hands, we chose to withdraw from galactic affairs, taking our most dangerous secrets with us. She gestured to the holographic display, showing the galaxy's spiral arms, red indicators marking confirmed Voidborn sightings. "We left the 7th Sentinel Fleet as guardians, programmed to awaken if the threat ever returned." Now that day has come. What happens now? Asked Thiliv, the Valdurian coordinator who had become a key ally in the past week. Now, Ilara said, her voice carrying the weight of centuries, we contact Earth. The Seventh Fleet was always meant to be just the vanguard. If the Voidborn have truly returned in force, humanity will honor its ancient promise to stand against them. She looked around the room, meeting the eyes of each representative. Prepare your peoples. Gather your fleets. The battle for Neos Helicar was just the beginning. When humanity returns in full force, we'll need allies who understand what we're fighting for, not just the survival of individual worlds, but the continued existence of consciousness itself. As the meeting concluded, Hilara returned to her ready room aboard the Terminus Oath. Through the viewport, she could see repair crews working on the ship's damaged hull, preparation for the long journey ahead. Aria, she spoke quietly. Prepare a message to Earth. Priority Omega. Authentication, Chen 77 Exodus. She paused, gathering her thoughts before continuing. The Voidborn have returned. The 7th Sentinel Fleet has engaged and defeated their advance force. But our models predict a full-scale invasion within 6 months. We request immediate reinforcement and activation of the Lazarus Protocol. She ended the transmission and stared out at the stars. 300 years ago, humanity had withdrawn from the galaxy not in defeat, but to prepare. They had seen the true threat coming and understood that conventional weapons and alliances would not be enough. Now, the sleepers would awaken. Humanity's full might would return to the galactic stage, and the Voidborn would learn once again why Earth's deadliest fleet had been both revered and feared throughout the cosmos. The true war was just beginning.